It's so crazy to me because I'm asked so many times if I'm, resentful in any type of way for where the WNBA is right now.
What so many supporters of Caitlin Clark have been saying throughout the season was finally expressed by Candace Parker. And a lot of the old guard in the WNBA didn't want to hear it. The league must pay attention, especially the commissioner. Though some critics claim that things have only gotten worse, many had hoped that the new season would bring a more constructive approach toward Caitlin Clark and her supporters. They argue that double standards, resentment, and jealousy have become even more noticeable. Candace Parker did not stay silent during the controversial incident involving Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark, in which Thomas made physical contact near Clark's neck. Speaking about the situation, she emphasized the importance of player safety and fair treatment throughout the game. Legendary WNBA player Candace Parker shared a perspective that many people viewed as clear and reasonable. Her comments cut through the noise and encouraged others to look at the situation from a different perspective. Perhaps now people will take a moment to reflect. According to some analysts, this season has shown that the more success Caitlin Clark achieves, the more controversy and discussion seem to follow her. Let's take a closer look at Candace Parker's actual comments, which many have described as a powerful response to the WNBA establishment and to critics of Caitlin Clark. If you enjoy this content, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not,
but I've often used the line, Shay, that I'll share with you because I don't know if I've ever used it while you've been on the air with me. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it ain't a damn mongoose. I've said that many, many times over the years. There is a flagrant level of resentment that exists when it comes to Caitlin Clark, and it has existed since she has arrived in the league. She is the cash cow. Just recently, a couple of days ago, I think, we saw her and another player, I think it was Alyssa Boston or whatever, we saw them be the top two vote getters for the WNBA All-Star game so far. Every time you turn around.
When Candace Parker saw the footage of Alyssa Thomas reportedly striking Caitlin Clark in the back of the neck while Clark was still reacting to being poked in the eye, her response was quick and uncompromising. Candace Parker knows what true competitive intensity looks like because she spent years competing against some of the toughest and most physical players in WNBA history. However, she believed that Alyssa Thomas's actions crossed the line of proper sportsmanship and fair competition. What especially stood out to Parker was the timing of the shove. This is where Alyssa Thomas's actions, in Parker's view, become much harder to defend. Before we continue, please take a moment to like this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get back to the story. The basketball legend raised a point that many fans had been thinking about, but very few people with her level of credibility were willing to say publicly. Candace Parker believes there is a major difference between playing aggressive, championship-level defense and taking a cheap shot at a player who is unprepared and unable to defend herself. Parker emphasized that during her own playing career, conflicts were handled face-to-face. If a player had an issue with an opponent, they confronted them directly rather than waiting for the perfect opportunity to catch them off guard. That's exactly what bothered Candace Parker most about Alyssa Thomas's actions. Parker's criticism didn't stop there. The legendary WNBA star was particularly disappointed by what she viewed as Alyssa Thomas's response after the incident. Instead of expressing regret or acknowledging that she may have crossed the line, Thomas responded by suggesting that the criticism was unfair, saying, "Damned if I do, damned if I don't." According to Parker, that reaction only made the situation worse. Candace Parker believes that true champions take responsibility for their actions, especially when those actions could put another player at risk. She said the response reminded her of athletes who knew they couldn't gain an advantage through basketball alone and instead looked for other ways to influence the outcome of a game. In Parker's view, Alyssa Thomas was relying on questionable tactics rather than allowing her basketball skills to speak for themselves. This is where Candace Parker's analysis becomes especially significant, because it highlights what she sees as one of Caitlin Clark's greatest strengths. Parker believes Clark possesses elite basketball IQ, the ability to perform under pressure, and a unique talent for elevating the players around her, qualities that separate great players from truly exceptional ones. At the same time, Parker expressed concern about something else. Rather than being allowed to focus entirely on developing her remarkable talent, Clark frequently finds herself dealing with excessive physical play and unnecessary distractions. According to Parker, Alyssa Thomas's approach reflects many of the problems with how some opponents choose to defend Clark instead of simply competing against her through basketball. Instead of matching her skill through dedication, preparation, and disciplined basketball, they resort to physical play when she is least able to protect herself. From Candace Parker's perspective, a troubling pattern has emerged. Clark is often targeted during vulnerable moments rather than being challenged strictly through basketball. Candace Parker didn't hold back when describing that kind of behavior. She said she could think of no worse form of competition. However, the part of her comments that has the basketball world talking is the comparison she made between the challenges she faced during her career and what Caitlin Clark is experiencing today. At the same time, she pointed out a crucial difference that makes Clark's situation unique. At just 22 years old, Parker believes Clark is dealing with more adversity than many professional athletes face in an entire career, all while carrying the weight of being the undisputed face of women's basketball. What has gone especially viral on social media is what Parker reportedly said about Alyssa Thomas's future impact on the league. According to Parker, if the WNBA allows players to target the league's biggest stars without meaningful consequences, it sends the message that struggling players can stay relevant through controversy rather than improving their basketball skills. She warned that this creates a dangerous precedent and could discourage the very players helping push the league forward. Parker argued that when situations like this are not handled properly, young fans watching the game may learn the wrong lessons. Instead of teaching athletes how to exploit opponents during vulnerable moments, she believes the focus should remain on skill, perseverance, hard work, and sportsmanship. Perhaps the most important part of Parker's comments involved her outlook on Clark's future despite all these challenges. She suggested that adversity often makes great players even stronger. Every cheap shot, every questionable play, and every attempt to intimidate Clark may only strengthen her mindset and fuel her determination to prove herself through exceptional basketball. To support that view, Parker compared Clark's situation to the physical tests she faced early in her own WNBA career, when veteran players constantly challenged her to see whether she could handle the pressure. According to Parker, the difference is that Caitlin Clark is dealing with those challenges, while also carrying extraordinary media attention and expectations, as one of the most recognizable and marketable stars in the league. That's why Parker's support of Clark is viewed as so significant. She believes this is not just about protecting a talented young player, but also about protecting the integrity of the game itself. Parker has argued that Clark represents many of the qualities that make basketball special: elite talent, exceptional court vision, relentless competitiveness, and professionalism. At the same time, she warned that behavior like that attributed to Alyssa Thomas can damage the sport's image and take attention away from the game itself. The WNBA legend made it clear that she believes the league is at a pivotal moment. The league can choose to protect and develop its brightest stars, giving players like Caitlin Clark every opportunity to reach their full potential and help grow the sport. Or it can continue allowing controversy and questionable tactics to overshadow the basketball. Parker's message was clear. In her view, the future of the league depends on the choices made today. The question now is whether the WNBA will take concerns about player safety seriously. Will it keep the spotlight on basketball or allow controversy to dominate the conversation? What are your thoughts on Candace Parker's assessment of Alyssa Thomas's actions? Do you think her criticism was too harsh or completely justified? More importantly, do you believe the WNBA will take stronger steps to protect its biggest stars, including Caitlin Clark? The basketball world will be watching closely, and many believe Parker's comments have added another important chapter to the ongoing debate surrounding Clark's treatment in the WNBA. One thing has become unavoidable as this story continues to unfold. The discussion is no longer just about one foul, one game, or even one player. It has become a conversation about the future of the WNBA and the direction the league wants to take during one of the most important periods in its history. Candace Parker did more than simply respond to a controversial incident. Her comments echoed concerns that have been raised for months by many basketball fans, former players, and commentators. When one of the sport's greatest icons publicly suggests that the league should do more to protect one of its brightest young stars, people pay attention. Her remarks have added even more weight to a debate that shows no signs of slowing down. At the heart of this conversation is a simple question: can basketball remain physical, competitive, and exciting while also prioritizing player safety? Most fans would likely agree that the answer should be yes. Nobody wants the game to lose its intensity. Basketball has always been built on tough defense, passion, determination, and players refusing to back down from a challenge. That's part of what makes the sport so compelling. At the same time, every player deserves the opportunity to compete without being exposed to unnecessary risks. The league's biggest stars attract millions of viewers, inspire young athletes around the world, and help grow the game in ways that benefit everyone involved. Protecting those players is not about giving special treatment. It's about ensuring that the rules are applied fairly and consistently to everyone. Caitlin Clark has become one of the most recognizable names in basketball. Millions of fans tune in whenever she steps onto the court. Highlights from her game spread across social media within minutes, and every controversial moment quickly becomes a major story. That level of attention creates enormous pressure and responsibility for everyone involved, from players and coaches to referees and league officials. Despite all the scrutiny, Clark continues to focus on basketball. She continues competing, leading her team, and handling expectations that few athletes face so early in their professional careers. Whether people support her or criticize her, there is no denying that she is one of the primary reasons so many new fans are paying attention to the WNBA. That's why incidents like these matter so much. Every controversial moment shapes public perception. Every officiating decision is analyzed. Every league response becomes part of a broader discussion about fairness, consistency, and the future of women's professional basketball. At the same time, it's important to remember that these conversations should be about improving the game rather than creating unnecessary division. Basketball is an emotional and fast-moving sport. Physical play, heated moments, and split-second decisions are inevitable. Fans, analysts, and former players will naturally have different opinions about where the line should be drawn. What matters most is that those discussions help move the sport forward rather than hold it back. The WNBA has more momentum today than at any point in its history. The number of people watching the league continues to grow. Enthusiastic fans are filling arenas because they now have the opportunity to watch athletes who inspire them perform on the biggest stage. Young girls across the country are dreaming of becoming professional basketball players. That's something worth celebrating. But with that growth comes higher expectations. Fans expect consistency. Players expect fairness. And the league has an opportunity to show that it can protect the athletes who make the game exciting while still preserving the physical nature of basketball. Moments like these are often remembered because they become turning points. Sometimes controversy leads to progress. It can result in stronger rules, better officiating, and a greater appreciation for the game itself. Whether this situation becomes one of those defining moments remains to be seen, but people will certainly continue paying close attention. Only time will reveal how this story ends. Will Caitlin Clark's journey toward greatness continue despite these challenges? Will the league make changes that satisfy both players and fans?